Hey, you can tell it's an American voice. So, okay. So I'm not going to repeat everything, but hopefully some of us will remember. And just for your information, what I'll be quoting today is from volume 4 of the collected works of Chogyam Trungpa, which I find very useful. This happened to be here at Prashant's place, collected works of Chogyam Trungpa. It's excellent section where he's talking about our projections, competing with our projections is the interesting title of that chapter, where he is looking at how our mind, basically, he is saying, just as Shantideva is, that basically our mind is all over the place, and if we don't guard it well, we are just going to be in big trouble, really. We're going to be overcome by all kinds of neurosis. That's the word Trungpa uses. Of course, Shantideva doesn't use the word neurosis. It's a more modern word, right? But he uses the word disturbing emotions or klesh, or I guess this text was in Sanskrit originally. So probably one of the words he would have used is klesh or klesha, which is a standard, I think, Sanskrit word for the disturbing emotions, the delusions. Yeah. Anyway, we are full of this neurosis, which prevents us from being calm and still, and from seeing clearly. Yeah, it prevents us seeing clearly. It even prevents us, after all, being able to watch our breath for half a minute, without distraction. So this is what we're going to work with first, since this chapter is about guarding the mind, this chapter 5. So it makes sense to look closely at the basic shamatha practice a little bit, and to see why Shantideva is making such a fuss about this. So we can find out directly why he's making such a fuss by, first person experience. Look at our own, monkey mind. And then we know why Shantideva is devoting so many verses to this point. Yeah. Okay. But we'll start with some motivation, and that's very important, although already you may be tired of all these words, but what to do? Hopefully in our own spare time we can also investigate these things. I hope that these Zoom sessions aren't the only time of the week when you decide to be a little still and watch what's happening inside. It's good if we can spend a few minutes every day doing this. Okay, so our mind is in turmoil, if we're honest, unless we're already a very accomplished practitioner, in which case my apologies. But if we're not, then our mind is in some kind of turmoil quite a bit of the time. At the very least, there's a kind of background hum of uncertainty and kind of maybe not anxiety exactly, but there's a sense of unease in the background because of this sense of having to always look out for the I, the me. So there's this sense that one has to really reinforce our situation by getting what we need for our protection, or pushing away, of course, that which is threatening our situation. So there's this sense of it's like the first time you, maybe as a child, you have to act in a school play, and you're only 8 or 10 years old or something, and it's your first time on the stage. So that's kind of exaggerated, but it's like this sense of self-consciousness we have all the time, most of the time. So we feel a little uneasy. We have to put on some kind of an act, to protect ourselves. It's very hard to be just still and kind of almost, kind of still and naked almost. Other people may see something that we don't want them to see. So that is always in the background, that sort of the discomfort of having a a sense of identity, of me, some kind of real me. That's our tragedy. That's our problem. That's seems to be our task, is to deconstruct that I. And Buddha's teachings are designed for that. So let's remember that this session and all sessions, anything to do with Buddha Dhamma, is to help us deconstruct this false sense of I, me, mine, which is tormenting us, has been tormenting us since beginningless time, and will continue to torment us until we have seen through it. It's like we are paranoid and we are sure that there is somebody just outside of our door waiting to stab us, with a very horrible knife. And as long as we believe that, then we're in trouble, aren't we? But the moment we see that it's just a thought, it's a hallucination, then we are free. We're free of that fear. So anyway, something like that. So make that determination that our session together will help us to get closer to the truth of who we are, what we are, and what our purpose is, possibly. All within the embrace of great love and compassion. Because a basic point, which we all can understand, is that everybody wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer at all. At all. To the extent that if there's a slight discomfort, right, we scratch our nose or we change our position. I had that experience again and again today during the 6.5, 7 hours of teachings today. Pain, discomfort, and one is always trying to avoid that in one way or another. So all beings are in that situation. Some are having horrific sufferings right now of hunger, thirst, being devastated by war, by climate change, by, and of course, even the beings, brothers and sisters, we could say, in the great oceans, they are suffering due to the acidification of the oceans. And even now, the marine biologists are noticing not only, the changes and the death and the migrations to different parts of the ocean, but also unusual behavior in certain of the species in the ocean. So everything, in a sense, is becoming a little topsy-turvy, is becoming, disturbed. So in that situation of inner disturbance and outer disturbance, which of course are reflecting each other and working together to create a very difficult, challenging situation. In this scenario, what works? What is going to work for us? What is going to help us in this world? Our beautiful planet, the only one we have right now. What is going to help? Understanding our interdependence will help. Understanding everybody's need for kindness, for love. People appreciate being appreciated, cared for. So let's arouse that mind of kindness, loving kindness, which is represented by the main statue at Tushita, the Maitreya, gazing down on some of you there. Maitreya, Maitri is in that name. Maitri is this loving kindness, which is loving kindness without any sense of transaction. Open-ended, open-hearted loving kindness, not wanting or needing anything in return. That wish for others to be happy, and the sense of that being radiated outwards towards all beings. So start with feeling that sense of radiation of kindness towards yourself, who very much needs, kindness, loving kindness. It's not as though only other people need it. Excuse me, we all need it. So radiating it, feeling it for yourself. So you can help that process in many ways, through certain verbalizations may help some people. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from sickness and pain and so forth. So give yourself some encouragement if you need. Well, there may have been some phrases that a parent or a good friend has used towards you, which you find useful. So use that. And this loving kindness, you see, it transcends all sets of guilt or shame. We may have done terrible things, in our life. I'm sure none of us have been as terrible as Milarepa, but we have done harmful things and stupid things. We've also not been true to ourselves very often. So we may have a lot of regrets, but this loving kindness, it's not going to get stuck there. It's like a great flood of water which sweeps away in the flood all of the garbage that's there, unblocks the channel. So we don't get stuck in our regrets. We acknowledge them. If there's things to be worked out or done, we do it. But this loving kindness is there regardless of who we are, what we think we are, what we think we did or didn't. And similarly, it radiates outwards, embracing all beings, from the kindest, most generous being to the beings who are stuck with their negativity and their hatred. The people engaged in war, the ones who are enjoying killing and the ones who hate killing but are still there in the war. The loving kindness extends to all of them, and the victims of war. The anxiety and sorrow of the relatives of all those who are engaging in war. The list is endless, isn't it? You don't have to go as far as Ukraine to find people that we can extend our loving kindness towards. So this is not just the motivation for this session, one might say, this is motivation for our life. Or as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, motivation for our life can be the Bodhichitta motivation, which of course Shantideva's text is all about, this extraordinary attitude of aspiring for highest enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And not just in order to benefit them with a few meals or shelter or something, but to actually help them also get enlightened, help them be liberated. In addition, of course, to helping them with their daily needs, of course. So it is said that real happiness in life starts when we begin to cherish others. So let us hope that our sessions together help us to understand and experience that in our life. What is being said by the great teachers, by the Buddha. Real happiness in life starts when we begin to cherish others. But all of this has to be based on proper connection with ourselves. So here I'll just read a little bit, and then we'll sit quietly, and then we'll look at some Shantideva verses and have some discussion. Basically, we're uncertain of who we are. So there is a huge, gigantic fear in the back of our minds, which is hidden very neatly behind a veil of ignorance, of ignoring. Even though it's hidden, we're still uncertain, as though there was some kind of huge cosmic conspiracy happening. So then it's as though there's some kind of event going to happen, like a bomb going off. Whether inside or outside, we're not sure. But we like to pretend that, everything's okay. We cover it over. And we can blame things. We can blame our problems on outside situations. Then the author says something very interesting and pertinent, I think. He says, it seems to me that we cannot be charitable to anyone. And of course, here we're speaking in the Mahayana context where we are working towards helping others, right? Being charitable to others. But he's saying we can't be charitable to anyone, even ourselves, if we don't know who we are and what we are, or who we are not, and what we are not, on whether we exist or not. So this is a very important point to understand before we begin to practice. We have to find out who is actually practicing and what we are practicing for. At our level, this basic level, meditation practice is about establishing a relationship with ourselves. That's the aim of meditation. So there are various techniques for that, and it's not a question, and this is very important, it's not a question of achieving a state of trance or mental peace or of manufacturing a higher goal, higher state of consciousness at all. It is simply that if we're honest, we haven't really acknowledged ourselves properly at all up to now. We've been too busy. We've been too busy, say, externally and internally, too busy. So finally, we stop our physical activities and spend time, say at least 20 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, with ourselves. when we talk about making a relationship with ourselves, it sounds very simple, but in fact, it's very difficult. The reason that we're unable to relate with ourselves is that there's a fundamental neurosis that prevents us from acknowledging our existence, or our non-existence, if you like. Don't mistake this to be meaning complete non-existence. There is some kind of existence happening, obviously. So we are afraid of ourselves. However confident or clever or self-contained we think we may be, there's still some kind of fear, paranoia. And what he says he means here by neurosis is inability to face the simple truth. Inability to face the simple truth. Rather than do that, we introduce all kinds of ideas, concepts, cunning, clever, depressing. We just purely engage in bringing in as much stuff as we can, mental stuff, although we do it with physical stuff too, right? We cram our houses, our spaces with stuff. And that stuff that we bring in has neurotic qualities. What it finally comes down to here is taking the false to be true. That we can discuss later. That's a very important point. Taking the false to be true. So just relating with ourselves properly in meditation practice can expose all these hidden neuroses. I hope you're listening carefully and not too sleepy yet. So this kind of basic sitting practice in the basic Theravada or Hinayana Buddhism is called shamatha. Shamatha. This literally means dwelling in peace, or on peace, or the development of peace. But let's not misunderstand peace in this case. It doesn't refer to tranquility just in the sense of a peaceful state. Peace here refers to the simplicity or uncomplicatedness of the practice. The meditator just relates with walking or breathing. You just simply be with it. Very simply, just be with it. It's specially designed to produce what we may call exquisite boredom. It's not particularly designed to solve problems as such. It's very boring, isn't it, just to watch one's breathing and to sit and do nothing, or walk, not even run, but just walk slowly. We may think we've done that many times already. But usually we don't just breathe and sit and walk. We have so many other things happening at the same time. Millions of projects on top of those things. But in this case, we relate to the boredom, which is the first message that we get of the non-existence of ego. Just a few more lines connected with this. So, and this is very skillful how the author is relating the basic practice of shamatha with the end, if you like, where Buddha is actually trying to take us in the end, which is realizing the that this ego, this grasping at an I, a me, a mine, is a hallucination, or rather what we are grasping at is a hallucination. The process of grasping at it is real, that's happening, but what we're grasping at doesn't exist. The murderer standing with a knife behind the door, whom we think is there but isn't, that belief we have is real, but the person is not there. So the belief is what is harming us. Anyway, so he goes on. It's as though you feel as if you are in exile. You've been banished. You're a great revolutionary leader. You had a lot of power and schemes and so on, but now you're in exile in a foreign country and you're bored. Yeah. You've been a very busy person organizing this and that. Maybe you're a boss at an office, and here you are, you have to come and just sit and watch your breath. It's like a humiliation, right? You're just being asked to sit and watch your breath. What's going on? You know, you're used to doing so many things at once. So you're in a foreign country and you're bored. That's what it's like. Egos, machinations, and administration have no place in boredom. So boredom is the starting point of realization of the ego-less state. This is very important. So if some of you get bored in meditation, that's wonderful. That is said to be great news, because it means it's beginning to work. You're overactive, neurotic, you know, clever, cunning, busy, me, I, is being sidetracked, is being ignored. It's being starved, you could say. It's not being given any oxygen. So there's boredom. You know, you feel like reaching out and checking a WhatsApp message, or, you know, whatever, anything to relieve ourselves of this boring simplicity, lack of movement. Anyway, you're getting the idea. So let's try this. Let's actually observe. Let's actually work with our breath for 6 or 7 minutes and see whether this author and Shantideva are talking any sense or not. You know, maybe these authors are just bored, so they decided to write things, you know, to pass the time. So we need to check. So please develop a good posture, upright. We can't pretend that, you know, being simple means undisciplined. No, we need some discipline. And remember the meaning of that wonderful word. It means being a disciple. That's one meaning that Krishnamurti brought out. We don't have to be afraid of that word. It means to be a good disciple. What is a good disciple? Someone who is sincere in a spiritual practice, is a good disciple of an authentic master, teacher. So in this case, we have some faith, or we wouldn't be here. We have some faith and trust in Lord Buddha, and presumably in Shantideva, and or maybe even in Tushita's spiritual program. So anyway, there needs to be a sense of being a disciple. So we sit upright. We don't slouch, and we stop moving our arms and legs about so much. We keep them still for a little while, if possible. And it is possible, actually. You don't have to tie yourself up. But it's not easy either. Because the neurosis is not just working at a mental level, it's extending into the body, making the body very fidgety. You can watch for the little movements that you like to make with your toes, your fingers, muscles of the face. slightest sound, and some people look around to check what's going on. As though we were still cave people with dangers everywhere, wild animals. So watch out for that. Observe as we sit and watch the breath for a little while. And you have all the instructions from before. So sense of stillness, relaxation, vivid, alert mind. Not expecting anything, not wanting anything. Simply being there. Or being here, wherever you are. Allowing oneself to let go and relax with the out breath. Remember to be alert, recognize when distraction has taken over, and then, without being uptight about it, just gently return back to the breath. No need to get perturbed or upset about distraction. But notice, come back to the breath. Sensation of breath. If you feel sleepy, open your eyes, take a few deep breaths. If there's a lot of mental excitement, then it can help to bring the awareness lower in the body to the abdomen. Visualize a dark ball of light, dark color of the solar plexus. And don't feel you have to shut out external sounds, or sensations in the body, or a sense of wind or breeze, odors. They're also part of the overall present situation. There's space for them as well. We're not kind of fanatically fixating on the breath 100%. That would lead to some tension and stress. Okay. So we can, of course, maintain this sense of calm and clear, having slowed down even during the next parts of the session, and maintain that sense of, I don't know, having a sense of balance. So even though you may be hearing words and questions and discussion and so forth, it need not disturb the basic sense of calm and equanimity in the mind, right? We could look at a few verses and then have some discussion. It's already 7:20. So, anyway, first you might spend a few moments considering whether you had any kind of what the author has been calling neurotic experience during the last 5-6 minutes. Neurotic in the sense of taking the false to be true, buying into the, I don't know, the fantasy, the distraction, the real pain in the leg, the real this, the real that. Spend a few moments checking. It's not about marks out of 10, you know, whether you could stay on the breath. Excuse me while I just change my posture. I find I can't sit cross-legged as well as I could 20, 30 years ago. Okay. अच्छा जी. So yes, day before, on Tuesday, we got as far as okay, verse 39. Once having prepared for an action with the thought, my body will remain in such a way, then periodically I should look to see how the body is being maintained. Matlab, we're aware of this in India. If you're a young person in a relatively traditional family, right, and guests are coming, whether your own family members or some other guests, then your parents tell you, and it kind of becomes an inbuilt mechanism, habit, that we behave in a certain way. We don't make sort of jerky or unusual bodily movements. We come and respectfully, say namaste to the guests, or if we're young, then we touch the feet of our elders, whatever. But there's, we don't talk unless we're spoken to, that kind of thing. Maybe there, or have been there in your childhood. It's not very usual now, I guess. But that's just one example in lay life of having, you decided, these people are coming, so I have to really watch what my body is doing, and not just my body, but my mouth, my speech, and also, yeah, to eat in a respectful way when guests are there, and not to make loud munching sounds, and not to suckle my fingers, noisily, stuff like that. So this, of course, as I said on Tuesday, this is being addressed to monks largely, but it also it applies to us too, right? We have to behave and appropriately, bodily, wherever we are. I mean, even in the bathroom, if we're not careful, we can slip. And, so many people, especially elderly people, break a leg or a hip or something, damage themselves in the bathroom, then it affects the rest of their life, it becomes very difficult. So 40, verse 40 is very important. With the utmost effort, I should check to see that the crazed elephant of my mind is not wandering off, but is bound to the great pillar of thinking about the Dharma. Wow, that's great. So this is, we would tie a dog or a goat or an elephant to a post, a pillar, to make sure it doesn't wander off and start eating our cabbages or flowers, or, worse, we tie it up. So how are we going to tie up our mind? We're going to tie it up with the great pillar of thinking about the Dharma. And the thing is, with some of these wonderful texts and commentaries by Indian and Tibetan masters and our own teachers, sometimes the language they use, the words they use, is just so powerful, isn't it? Just reading a few lines, I find sometimes helps so much, because, I don't know, the power of the words, and the fact that those words are put down, have been written by somebody who's actually practiced those words, who had accomplished that. It's not like some charlatan who's pretending. It's not like people like me, but it's people who've actually practiced and achieved that. Lord Buddha, the great masters, the great Indian Mahasiddhas, the great lineage teachers of India and Tibet, right down, fortunately for us, to our many present teachers. These are people whose words we can, we should listen to very carefully and see how they can change our mind, So that's the great pillar of thinking about the Dharma. Of course, at a deeper level, we reflect about what we hear, and then we meditate on it. So that helps to, in the end, it will completely short circuit the crazed elephant of one's mind. The mind will become much calmer, clearer. Not just calm, but also clear in the sense of not just shamatha, but also vipassana, meaning insight. Excuse me, insight into who we are, what we are. So those who strive by all means for concentration should not wander off even a moment. By thinking, how is my mind behaving? They should closely analyze their mind. It's just, reinforcing that if we're serious, we just have to be doing this all the time. We can't allow the mind to wander off. Because remember what we said about the power of flickering thought? Flickering thought meaning just a tiny thought comes in the mind and it sets off a chain reaction. And before you know it, you're into a full-blown delusion, fantasy, or an angry thought, angry episode that you're creating in your mind. And, it's quite funny sometimes we get angry about things which haven't happened, right? It's not just things that have happened, but things that might happen. We get angry about them when they haven't happened yet. And they may never do so. So, our mind is wandering off. So we've got to watch all the time what's happening. But if I'm unable to do this, when afraid or involved in celebrations, then I should relax. Likewise, it has been taught that at times of giving, one may be indifferent to certain aspects of moral discipline. This needs quite a lot of commentary probably, but basically it's saying that we shouldn't be too uptight about this. If we've been invited to our brother's wedding or something, then we are allowed to relax a bit, and of course he's talking to monastics, but even monastics are allowed to, go to their brother's wedding, so long as they don't get drunk or something, and they can do things that they wouldn't be allowed otherwise if they were at the monastery. They wouldn't be allowed to go out at night for no reason, Remember the film of Dzongsa Rinpoche's, The Cup, where the monk is, sneaking out at night to when he's trying to organize a television to see the World Cup. Those who haven't seen that movie should see it. The Cup, about a small monastery in this part of Himachal, where the monks are very excited because the World Cup is coming, and they are really into football, and they need to hire a TV in order to watch at least the final or whatever. So anyway, there the monk has to dodge the disciplinarian, to go out at night. But if you're a certain age and your brother or sister's getting married, then you would be allowed probably to spend some time with them. Or other celebration. Like if your monastery has a celebration or something, then one is allowed to obviously go to that celebration. After the rainy season retreat, it's well known that at least the Tibetan monks, they have a whole day of picnic and playing cards and so forth after the rigors of the 2 or 3 months rainy season retreats. Then they're allowed to, do things that they wouldn't be allowed otherwise. It has been taught at times of giving, one may be indifferent to certain aspects of moral discipline. That I'd have to think, maybe you can think of examples where it wouldn't be appropriate to give, but where in certain situations it is okay to give. Maybe you can think of something and tell me later in this session. And we'll get back to the page. Just another verse or two and then we'll have discussion. Again, another very practical verse, but very important. Verse 43. I should undertake whatever deed I've intended to do and think of doing. I should undertake whatever deed I've intended to do and think of doing other than it. with my mind applied to that task, I should set about for the time being to accomplish it. I don't know, I'm not sure about line 2, whether it means that, I've intended to do something, but there's something else also in my mind, which I think I might want to do, but it's not important to do. So one should just do the important thing. Whether there's some word missing there, I'm not sure. Anyway, he's basically saying we should be clear. It's like when stepping out of one's room, one should know where one's going, why one's going there, especially for monastics, because, if they just start wandering around and, they could just land up in trouble, So we should know what we're going to do and just do it, do that task, not get distracted by something else. I should set about for the time being to accomplish it, that particular task, not get distracted. Something, it's quite funny, some people start a sentence and then they start talking about something else. It's like they're on two lines of thought at once. And they start something, then they start something else, and it's infuriating for me to listen to such people sometimes. And they never finish their first thought. And then sometimes the second thought even doesn't get finished. So we shouldn't be like that. If we want to say something, we should just say that, what we mean to say. And if we haven't worked out where we want to go or what we want to say, then we shouldn't say or do anything. We should wait till we're clear. This is what Shantideva seems to be saying. By acting in this way, all will be done well. By acting otherwise, neither action will be done. Likewise, and here I am, I've lost the page again. This thing, you see, that's the problem with digital. I mean, with these machines. It's like books are much better. You don't just suddenly get to another page, many pages ahead. Here I'm complaining about external factors. By acting in this way, all will be done well. But by acting otherwise, neither action will be done. Likewise, there will be no increase in the proximate disturbing conceptions that come from a lack of alertness. Yeah, a lot of disturbing conceptions arise because of lack of alertness, right? Proximate meaning, okay, it might not be full-blown lust, but there could be a proximate. Proximate means a close disturbing emotion, like too much interest in something, or a slight attachment towards something, if I'm not careful, So those disturbing emotions, even the proximate disturbing emotions, will not increase if we are alert. We must have the next one before we stop. If I happen to be present while a senseless conversation is taking place, or if I happen to see some kind of spectacular show, I should abandon attachment towards it. He's not saying you have to criticize it or, tweet about it, but he's saying you should abandon attachment towards it. Remember, our point is not to harm others. So if we think someone is doing something senseless, we don't have to advertise that, to all our friends. But we should avoid, he's saying, we can avoid that conversation. We can avoid going to that spectacle, which we know is just, gonna disturb us, take up our time. Remember again, this is being spoken to monastics who are supposed to spend their time taming their minds and creating the course for liberation. That requires attention, that requires study, listening, reflecting, meditating. And if we're not doing, well, if we're just distracting ourselves in the free time, so-called, we have, then it has a bad effect on the rest of our studies and so forth. It's not as though we can be good meditators and then spend all of the other 7-8 hours of the day just wandering around aimlessly getting distracted. It is said that is not going to help our meditation, that then we won't be successful. In other words, the post-meditation, the in-between meditation times are very important. Okay, Right, let's have discussion. Aruna ji has left, it looks like. Is that right, Sagar Bhai? Did Aruna leave? You
Yes,
can talk.
Swamiji.
Huh?
Yes, she left.
Ah, she's in the back row?
No, she left.
She left, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. Anything anyone wants to say? Floor is open, as they say. It'd be nice to see some more faces. You do realize that we're very lenient here at Tushita. Geshe Doje Damdullah at Tibet House, he insists that everyone has their video on. If, so you can't just be, drinking a bottle of beer or hanging out with a cigarette in your mouth or sleeping. You have to show your face. Yes. Okay, Oscar Wilde, Divya, Faridun, hi. Okay, some people are willing, some people are not, that's okay. Okay, something is better than nothing. Okay, let's not waste time. What do you want to say? What do you want to, given our motivation? Don't forget the motivation behind this session. So everything is aimed at that, yeah? Calming our minds, our neuroses, etc. Yeah, who was that?
Hey, Faridun.
Faridun, yes.
Got a very bad cold, so I sound horrible.
Yeah, you sound very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really nice. So on that point of boredom being a good point because it's crushing the ego, but isn't boredom part of it's the ego acting and saying boredom? What you read earlier, not Shantideva's thing, the other one.
Well, think about it. This is in the context of meditation, in the proper discipline of shamatha meditation. There's not just any old kind of boredom that you've got home and, you've been listening to music and you're fed up with the music you were listening to and you feel bored. That's not what he's saying. He's saying in the context of shamatha, when you're doing the practice as you've been taught, when boredom comes at that point. It's not just any old boredom. Anyway,
so what would that point of, how would you describe that boredom? I'm not quite getting that.
We have to find that when you are, we only spend 6 or 7 minutes, but if you spend a bit longer just watching your breath, and if you go to a 10-day Vipassana retreat, when you start watching your breath and one's doing it properly, then depending, of course, on the person, you might find after a while that you're saying, why the hell am I doing this? What's going on? Why am I sitting here watching my breath? And your mind, of course, is going off in different directions, right? And this one is a very seasoned meditator. The mind is going off, past, present, future, what you could be doing if you weren't on the retreat, etc., etc. So you're working with that, and then you realize, oh, here I am. There's this sense of boredom. What is my mind up to? But you may not be thinking it intellectually, but there is that awareness that the mind is being starved, mind and body actually being starved of their usual activities. Because let's face it, we're very active physically as well as mentally most of the time. And here we are stopping. We're being asked to do one thing. So I can't tell you in words what that's like because it's a subjective situation. But we just have to experiment with that. Experiment.
Thanks. Yeah, because I was just that. Yeah, thanks.
Hot water and salt gargles.
Yes.
What do you need, sir?
Yeah. Definitely. I've been living on it.
Yeah.
There's a new thing I've got to sualen. I dissolve sualen in hot water and drink it. It's really nice.
I
it's
hope
an Ayurvedic thing.
That's right. Swalin is more Unani, I think. Unani medicine.
Is it
Swalin.
Unani? Okay.
I think, not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not debate that. But yeah, you have to be careful. I hope you haven't got something worse. Be careful. Yeah. Okay, what else?
So,
Thank you.
Kabirji, the
Ah.
meditations which you do, so it has such a calming effect that sometimes just I want to enjoy that peaceful state. And I don't feel like asking any questions because I think most of the questions we ask, we know the answers. So I just want to that meditation has a very calming effect. So sometimes I don't feel like asking any question.
Good. You're sure the calming effect is not just a half sleep? Are you
No,
very
no.
alert? Are you alert and
I'm
awake?
aware. I'm aware. I'm aware.
Good. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, good. If everybody asks questions, it would be it would be terrible.
That it will lose its essence. That meditation will lose its essence.
I'm exaggerating. I mean, it can be very good to ask questions, but yeah, sometimes
It can be sometimes, but questions are important to clear the doubts also.
I think sometimes in the past I've asked questions because I'm just lazy. I don't want to think I don't want to think it through. I just want a quick release from my uncertainty. So I ask a question.
Yes.
If I thought about it, it would be better. But that's not to say that one wants to discourage questions. Communication is good, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Kabirji,
Who's that? But I think Minotiji had her hand up. So people who put their hand up digitally, they get priority. Sorry, Pradeepji, you'll be next. Yeah, ladies first in this case. Minotiji.
Yeah, Kabirji, thank you for the session. I hope you can hear me. Can you?
Very well.
Okay. Kabirji, when I was kind of grappling with that boredom aspect, is it referring to distraction? I didn't quite understand the boredom, and what is the original word? Because boredom must be the translated English translation.
No. This is
So-
from Trungam Trungpa. So he's not
Okay, so it's
translating.
written in English. Yeah, it's written in English. So what did he really mean by boredom, and as a good aspect of a result of meditation? Did I get that right? I kind of can't wrap my head around that.
Are you sure you can't? You see, we have many attachments and distractions. Say you come home and you thought you had your favorite food and drink in the fridge, it's not there. Then you thought your favorite program was on and it's not on. Then you say, oh yes, it's I want to watch this Netflix movie. But then what happens? The electricity goes. So then what happens? You may be bored. Of course, you may be very angry and frustrated, but you could be bored. So then the practitioner thinks, great, you know, my ego has been, you know, my ego, which wants all these things, favorite food, favorite drink, favorite program, favorite music in the background, it's being starved of all that stuff. So there, what's left is boredom, what we're calling boredom, where part of your wisdom mind then sees, aha, you know, it's like you've got your your ego leg before wicket, you know, and out. You know, it's like a part of the mind thing, aha, you know, this ego of mine is always wanting these different things, and now I'm starving it by just watching the breath, which let's face it, is not as exciting as you know, Bridgerton or some other fantastic serial on Netflix or Amazon, or you know, chocolate mousse, or good Coke and rum. You know, watching your breath isn't as interesting as these things. You know, for most people. For the practitioner, of course, the breath is
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
Okay, I'm getting the drift now. Yeah, I'm getting the drift. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for explaining. Thank you for understanding my answer so quickly. Yeah. Pradeep ji, show your wonderful face, sir. Yeah, and your lovely wall. My ceiling is almost the same color as your wall. Actually,
Doesn't look like that.
no, it's
More
it's
yellowish.
yeah, it's a bit different. It's a weird ceiling. It's like a false ceiling, it seems to me. You see? There's my little altar on the bed, because Prashant has his own altars around. I have my little altar on the bed. Anyway, okay. Pradeep ji, boliye.
So this boredom, when one is meditating, obviously one's mind, one is addicted to so many things and all sorts of thoughts come and you want to do something else. But what if you get attached to this boredom? I think there is a possibility that you like sitting and just doing nothing. Maybe you're not even reflecting, you are like going into a drowsy state and you get addicted to it, which I think there is a great possibility which happens. You suddenly realize that you had a good meditation, but later you realize actually you were drowsing and you're enjoying it.
Very good. So good question. I'm going to pass that on to Ajir ji, who does more meditation probably than any of us here, certainly more than me. So maybe he would like to comment on your point. Ajir ji, aap hain kya? Ajir ji, aap hain kya? Are you there, sir? Come in, Ajir ji.
प्रदीप जी,
हाँ जी जी.
प्रदीप जी, एक बार दोबारा आपके प्रश्न को दोहराइएगा ताकि मैं पूरा समझ लूं.
मैं ये कह रहा था कि जब हम जैसे मैं मेडिटेशन करता हूं तो 3 मिनट 4 मिनट बाद, क्योंकि माइंड इज सो एडिक्टेड टू सो मेनी थिंग्स, फोन पड़ा है तो लगता है कोई मैसेज ही देख लें, 1 सेकंड ही तो देखना है या और कुछ करना है. मतलब आप बोर्डम जो डिस्कस किया जा रहा था, दैट सेट्स इन. नाउ व्हाट, देयर आर आल्सो टाइम्स व्हेन प्रोबेबली यू गेट अटैच्ड टू योर बोर्डम. You feel drowsy. You see, if you are meditating, you have to be very alert. I think you have to be razor sharp. लेकिन मेरे साथ क्या होता है कि आपको लगता है कि आप मेडिटेट कर रहे हैं और बड़ा मजा आ रहा है, तो वो एक एडिक्शन सी हो जाती है जिसमें एक्चुअली आपने कुछ नहीं किया होता. यू आर हाफ asleep and half awake, and you after you get out of that slumber you think कि बड़ा मजा आया, बड़ी शांति आई. तो वो जो एडिक्शन है वो पॉसिबिलिटी है, मतलब उसको कैसे अवॉइड किया जाए, या और that's how it happens.
बहुत मजे आ रहे हैं तो मजे ले लीजिए साहब.
नींद आ रही होती है.
नहीं, I think it's very clearly given in all the text. Number one, the topic that we choose, it has to be familiar. Second is the wholesome. And third is the function of the mind in the meditation is non-distraction. Because the distraction is also considered as part of the kleshas. Though it is in the category of minor klesha, not the root, but it is a klesha. So I think it's very important that the mindfulness and the introspection should go together. The mind is totally focused on the object of the meditation. It can be breath, it can be flower, it can be Buddha image, whatever you have really chosen. But from time to time, they say that the introspection, which is just like just like a CCTV in the mind, whether it is there or not. I think that is very important. And the second aspect is that the mind is either going out of the object outside, or it is going down, sinking in, or going scattering. So there, I think the whole, the focus.
Ajir ji?
I think his sound is gone.
Ajirji, he's in another part of Deer Park, so I'm not near him.
I think he's no, he's there. He's gone on mute.
Ajirji, aap mute mein hai. Sometimes there's not a good Wi-Fi connection that side. I'm on a different Wi-Fi. Haji,
Yeah, I think
gaye aap?
yeah. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that is why it is really said that the mind should be really aware, non-distractly on the object of the meditation. That is really the whole practice. I think when we are saying that we should be aware of the breathing, the breathing is only the support. The whole practice is to sharpen that awareness. And that can come on.
Phir se gaya. Be sure to tell Ajirji if he's answered your question or if you have any other clarification, Pradeepji.
No, he's got it. Thanks, Ajit.
Ajirji, ho gaya. आपने जवाब दे दिया. बंदा खुश है. Client खुश है. What else? Folks? Oh, Nitya, are you in public transport? You're wearing a mask.
Yeah, I'm on a train.
Oh. Is that a suburban train somewhere?
No, it's an interstate. It's the New Delhi Kathgodam Shatabdi.
Acha. Good, good. Very good.
Coming back, yeah, to Delhi.
Good for you. What else, folks? Anybody? So, but yeah, to also answer just a part of that question, yeah, it's very easy to get addicted to a sense of peace, which may not be a state of clarity at all, but a very peaceful, numb sort of state. And I remember one friend who taught meditation a long time at Tushita Dharamsala. When he met with a realized meditator, a teacher, he said he realized that the meditation, the kind of practice he'd been doing for many years it was wrong. He thought he was, abiding in a state of shamatha or clarity, but he wasn't. It was a kind of dopey state, which was veering, towards the side of what they call, what Ajirji mentioned, sinking. It wasn't mental excitement, but it was a sinking mind, which has lost the vividness of the object. So we have to keep the vividness in shamatha. We can't just be peaceful. We have to have a vivid clarity. The object has to be clear. But his mind was slightly sinking. And so he said many, many years of habit of certain kind of meditation he had to undo, which was not easy for him. Imagine, you're used to doing something in a certain way, and then you're told it's not quite correct at all. Then you have to, you have to really adjust and reverse a habit of many years. So your question is very good. But I like the point Ajirji made about distraction being a minor klesh. Absolutely. It's because of distraction that any of the larger klesh have any room, to disturb us. If we weren't distracted, we would not be affected by the klesh, by the delusions. Which is why monks, when they go out, they're told to keep your eyes on the ground, don't look around. Because if you look around, not only will you step on various small insects, but you will also get distracted and attached to things or angry at things. And you may decide to go into a restaurant and, you may have been someone who, before you were a monk, used to drink. And so then you see people drinking and you it brings up old habit patterns in the mind, and before you know it, you might be sitting there having a Coke and rum, you know. And so then one thing leads to another. Then a beautiful woman might, you know, walk into the restaurant, and then you had it. So things like that. So we have to be careful what we're doing and not get distracted. And that's very difficult. Distraction is all the time, distraction. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, touch. They're always on the lookout for objects. And the mind is, even you close all the doors, you know, of your senses with these various yogic things, you know, but can't shut down your mind so easily. You can shut your ears, you can shut your mouth, you can shut your nose in that sense. But the mind keeps on.
Guard the wounds of your mind.
Haji?
I said we have to guard the wounds of our mind.
The wounds of our mind, yeah. Tie it to the post of thinking about dharma. Oh, I didn't know you could add a tree and a namaskar to the rectangle. Wow. Thank you, Rakeshji. That's nice. I didn't know you could add it like that. Oh, I suppose you can. Yeah. Reactions. What else? Of course, don't forget our technologies and smartphones and everything are designed for distraction, totally built for distraction. So many links, so many, you know, things you can go to, icons. It is built for distraction.
Yeah. So about, can I butt in again?
You certainly can, sir, since you are.
So the other thing about giving and moral something, I have to switch screens.
Yes.
So I'm on the phone. So could you expound on that a bit?
Expound would be rather dramatic a word.
Okay, expand quietly.
Expatiate. I don't know.
I can't change screen somehow. Where have I gone?
I asked you people to think of something there where he said, likewise,
Where has it gone? How do I find?
It has been taught that at times of giving, one may be indifferent to certain aspects of moral discipline.
So I have a moral question dilemma, which happens with sort of friends of mine, because I don't drink and smoke. So I said, like, I won't buy you, you know, a bottle of wine or something. Or at my table, you won't find a bottle of wine.
Right.
So would that fit in there? Or, you know, how do it like?
Well, yeah,
So
I don't know. I have thought of something. You know, if you are someone who is like a teacher, or you're responsible for you feel you're responsible for helping people get closer to the Dharma and to get interested in Dharma, then if there are some new people, some new students or potential students, and you go to their house or, you know, you meet them, then you might, you wouldn't be so uptight that of course, it depends. If you're a monk or nun, then you probably shouldn't do this. But if you're a lay person, you could, you know, you could offer to buy them a drink, you know. If your motivation was really good, you know, because you're there to help them. You're there, you yourself are there to help them become closer to the Dharma, and you want them to be relaxed, and you know that they drink. Okay, and if you are immediately to tell them, well, I'm not going to buy you a drink, or you can't drink in my presence because I'm a blah, blah, blah teacher of the Dharma, that's just going to put them off. They'll say, you're just an uptight, you know, so-and-so. So it's much better in certain situations to relax a bit and not be uptight and moralistic, because the main point is to develop a sense of happiness, relaxation, and wisdom in people's minds, right? So you're not going to get there by putting them off, by seeming to be a sort of moralistic, stuck-up person who won't even allow them to have, you know, a little drink. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, I mean, I'd let them have a drink, but I wouldn't sort of like, I think part of the vows we take is we won't encourage others. So you're not going to buy it for them. So I won't keep it on my table. But yes, you can drink, you can smoke, you can do what you want. But I'm not going to be the instigator for it, right?
That's also one way of looking at it. It depends. And it also depends on those people. If they easily get drunk or something, then one wants to not have anything to do with drink. But if it's, for example, you're in Italy or France where people have wine with their lunch, with their 2 or 3 hour lunches, you know, then to buy them a bottle of wine, I think is absolutely no problem, if your motivation overall is good. So in that situation, in times of giving, certain aspects of moral discipline, he's saying, you're not going to give them a gun, you know, or poison, or a manual of how to, you know, make a nuclear bomb. But, you know, to give them a bottle of wine is no problem, in my understanding, unless you know they're a drunkard. But if you take a bottle of wine to a family event where wine is, they drink it like water, you know, it's no problem. It's not considered like we in India, oh, daru pi raha hai, you know. It's a totally different thing there. Having wine with a meal in Mediterranean countries is like, you know, it's just sane. It's like us having water or orange juice or something, you know. So maybe that's one example, but does anyone have any other example of where in certain aspects moral, you know, giving is okay in certain situations, where certain aspects of moral discipline may be relaxed? Anybody? This becomes homework. No? Okay. Good, good. ठीक है.
Abhiji, I repeat those lines, like morality without wisdom leads to self-righteousness, and compassion without wisdom will lead you to a psychiatrist.
ये किसने बोला?
ये अभी तुषिता में आई थी ना, ये I forget the name. अभी last Friday she was giving the 9 p.m.
Oh, Tuptan Chodron.
Tuptan Chodron.
Can you repeat it again? It sounded good.
See, there are three aspects in morality, wisdom, and compassion.
Okay.
So if wisdom is the driver, morality and compassion are sitting with you.
Yes.
So wisdom is very important. Otherwise, just morality will lead you to self-righteousness, which is not right. And just compassion without wisdom will, like, your mind will just get so overwhelmed and overburdened that you will go to a psychiatrist.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah. ठीक बात. और विशद भाई, विशद मोनाली, I don't know. Welcome wherever you are. And Vishad just disappeared. He was there. कहाँ गया? Naveen. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Wearing white today. White background, white t-shirt. Yeah. Camouflage. Yeah. How are you, Vishad bhai? You are coming to Tushita soon. Vishad is a very great person. He comes and helps at Tushita again and again when all of us people who are supposed to be responsible, people like me, go away, run away into the hills, and then Vishad bhai has to come and help us out at Tushita. So very grateful to him. Yeah.
Pleasure is all mine, Kabir.
Pleasure is all. You wait till we give you more pleasurable activities. मैं तो बस 3 साल के रिट्रीट पे जा रहा हूँ. आप 3 साल बैठिए तुष्टिता में.
निवेता नमिता भी हैं.
वो तो भाग जाएंगे.
We make him sleep in the dormitory room. Yeah. On the dormitory bed with all the matcha.
Yes. ये तो यहाँ भाग गई. कहाँ, क्या बोलते हैं, कुतुब मीनार स्टेशन से आगे क्या है जहाँ?
छतरपुर.
हाँ, ये तो छतरपुर भाग गई. अब नमिता भागने वाली है ना? और जब उनको डॉर्मेट्री में बिठाएंगे वो भी भाग जाएगी. But Vishad is coming back again and again, so thank you for that. Thank you. Naveen ji, आप कैसे हैं? You're looking very smart with your top button done up. What is it? Or is it Is it buttoned or unbuttoned? It's unbuttoned. Okay. How are you? Are you in Bangalore? You are muted wherever you are. You're
He's in
muted.
Delhi, Kabirji, on his popular chair.
Yes, yes. I'm
Always
in
on that
Delhi.
chair.
Where are you?
I'm in Delhi, Kabirji.
Oh, are your daughters still with you?
Yes, yes. They've just gone out to meet a friend. So
Oh, okay. Will they be there?
yeah.
Will they be there on Monday?
No, I have to go to Bangalore on Saturday with them.
Oh, I'll miss them. That's a pity. Next time.
So tomorrow, if it's open. Hoping.
Anything else, folks? Ashish ji, Neil MSW. Oscar Wilde is the big O.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's been few days since I was quite busy, so just joined today again. I was continuous since past 2 weeks ago. I was continuous in the sessions, but today I joined back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I hope it was a little bit useful in some way.
Yes.
And Priyanka Arora. It's a very familiar name. Priyanka? Do I know you? I'm sure I do, but I can't remember.
No. It's my second session that I've joined in. It's very new for me, so I'm still learning about it. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Jagmohan ji, ठीक ठाक हैं? सिर में दर्द तो नहीं है?
नहीं बैठे हैं.
Good. I hope
I'm enjoying the discussion. It's very stimulating. I find them stimulating. मेरे को भी thought provoking है ये. So I get something to think about.
Good.
Thank you.
Do you have a copy of Shantideva at home? Do you have a copy of the text? I mean, in book form?
Not in book form, but I have it in the
smartphone में तो है.
हाँ, पढ़ने को है. इसमें लैपटॉप में है.
ठीक है. कभी-कभी पढ़िएगा. Thank you, Minoti ji.
I'm looking to get a text book. Which is the best text?
Well, we're looking at Shantideva, which is pretty hard to beat. Yeah, Shantideva तो आजकल हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन
English translation में किसका publication best है?
कौन से publication में?
हाँ.
नहीं समझा, फिर से बताइए.
जो टेक्स्ट आप फॉलो करते हैं शांति देवा का,
जी,
वो किसका publication?
There are several translations.
That is the crux of my question. Which translation is the best?
वही कह रहे हैं. The Way of the Bodhisattva, जो पद्माकारा translation वालों का है, Shambhala publication वाला, वो बहुत अच्छा है, because it has a good introduction and all. But I somehow prefer the translation of Stephen Batchelor, although it might not be so exact or precise. But I think I just prefer that out of habit. But I think for precision, probably the Shambhala one is better.
So yes, Stephen Batchelor का किसका publication है?
That is a Library of Tibetan Works and Archives. LTWA. Yeah.
Thank you.
वो तुषिता में copies हैं, दोनों translation हैं. Yeah.
And here Tushita Delhi.
हाँ जी, तुषिता दिल्ली.
हाँ, हमारी library है ना.
भूल गए ना, library है.
हाँ, I remember. मैं किताब लिखवाया करता था. I used to borrow from the library and then return.
Yeah, you have returned. Have you returned all your books?
The ones I take one at a time. I used to take time. After reading it, I return it and take another one.
Good for you, because we're being stricter these days. We're trying to be stricter. Yeah.
But it is recorded. We used to record it in the register.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. People record it and then, don't answer the phone when we call them in return. तो ये बड़ा गड़बड़ है. तुषिता आते हैं, बहुत अच्छी चीजें सीखते हैं और फिर किताबें चोरी करते हैं,
इसमें क्या चोरी करेगा? कोई डोनेट कर देगा. If somebody wants me, I will pay for it. I won't hesitate. I just won't hesitate if I have money in my wallet.
Yeah. Anything else, folks? We can stop soon. Also, having very long days. Yeah. But if there is any important question left or comment, feel free. It's dinner. There's no auntie upstairs here. There's no upstairs where I am. It's a single-story bungalow. सोने का बुलावा नहीं आया अभी तक. हाँ जी. सागर, निविता, ऑस्कर, प्रियंका, राजेश ठीक ठाक हैं?
So when people don't return your books, sorry.
हाँ, राजेश जी ठीक ठाक हैं?
हाँ, so ठीक है, don't return our books. Thank you. Come to in this. Where am I?
हाँ, Fardun.
So I'm saying does that also count as giving? And when people don't return books because I have tons of books, people feel sort of entitled not to return them very often.
That's a kind of feeling, actually.
Does that come part of your compassionate as well? Because for me, it's an attachment, of course, I realize, because I do love my books and they're my learning, they're my friends, they're my guides, everything.
If someone steals your friend, how do you
But people have this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a moot point. You can say, "Theek hai, jaane do," but it's not good for other people to think they can take something and not give it back. When it has not been, gifted to them, then it's their duty to at least ask if they can keep it, But people are careless, and so that happens. Of course, in one's own mind, one can say, "I'm giving it." But for the other person, I don't think it's very good karma. Especially to take books from a Dharma center. And it's quite different from taking from an individual. But taking from a Dharma center is worse.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
So we should help people not to create that karma by being strict.
So now I tell,
we should ask for...
so I ask people who want to read my books, they can sit here and read them. They can come here, chill, but don't take my books because I won't find the book again,
Yeah.
So that's my way of dealing with them, yeah.
Give them a cup of tea, but, keep the book at home,
Yeah,
so therefore,
sit here and read.
Yeah, so we have a refundable deposit, or used to at Tushita. We'll probably resurrect that again, 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees, depending on the book. And of course, some books are reference only. We don't allow people to take really big, thick books out of Tushita. Yeah, that's just asking for trouble. We started again, 1,000 rupees. Well done. Well done, Niveta. Yeah. Very good. Anything else, folks? Namita, kuch kehna hai? Is that Namita over there? I think so. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Kabirji.
You sound weary. I hope you're okay. Tushita, running Tushita can be weary, wearisome. Yeah. Yes, if possible. Yes, if possible. What's that an answer to? Per book, yeah. Yes, if possible. Otherwise, we don't get our books back. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, Vishod, you have to be really tough when you're there. Yeah. वरना लौट के नहीं आता है ना किताब.
That is good. We are getting new meditators in the morning sessions.
People
Yes.
are actually, it's good to see that people are actually giving so much efforts in their, I mean, between their busy schedules, calling up and asking all sorts of questions and coming at the center in the morning and evening. So it's nice to see that kind of consciousness awakening is happening, you know, amidst so many things. Yeah. Can I ask you one question, like just the one concluding question, because it's been in my mind because I was reading something.
Sure.
Need to leave now. People wants to leave, so I can ask later if
No, Abhi,
you want.
push lo. Then I can think about it and give a brilliant answer later or something. Hello, push lo.
It's been going in my mind that there's a lot of readings have been done on self-realization. So, but self is already realized. I mean, if we meditate and we are trying to, we are discovering the inner self, inner peace, and but self is always realized, don't you think? Then
No. We're stuck in ignorance. The self is not realized. In any case, there is no self in the way that most people understand it. Buddhism talks of non-self, anatta. The self is a hallucination. The way we grasp at the self, that's a hallucination. That's why Buddhism is so different from the other theistic and other religions. It's not easy to understand, but it's very important to understand. There is, when we say self-realization, what kind of self are we talking about? We have to be very careful what we mean by the self. And most people are holding on to some sense of a real, solid, independent self. So that is what Lord Buddha is warning against. And is, all his teachings are aimed at deconstructing that kind of self. But if by self-realization you mean understanding who we are, what we are, then of course, that we have to engage in. But yeah, so does that begin to answer your question? Probably makes you more confused, but that can be okay in the beginning. Because Buddha really wants us to get free of clinging to something that doesn't exist, but only something we think exists due to ignorance. Beginningless ignorance, even. Very dangerous ignorance because it's keeping us trapped in samsara. It's beginningless ignorance.
So Kabirji, self also refers to, like, we know our weaknesses and we know our strengths, and we try to get rid of our weakness, we improve on that. Is that not self-realization?
You can label it that, but I'm not sure if that's what Namita means. Can we just get back to Namita a sec? Did what I say make sense, Namita ji? What do you mean by self?
I mean, I've read in a few places, and I mean, in few books, that the self is part of the bigger consciousness. And
No, that's very vague language, Namita. You have to clarify. You have to clarify things. You may have read it, but have you thought about it, or what's your experience of who you are yourself? Because we can say, yeah, there's a higher self or something. We do speak of higher levels of consciousness in Buddhism, but we don't talk of a higher self, because whenever we use that word self, you see, we come back to thinking it's me, you know, some kind of me or I, and that's where we get into trouble. Yeah, there are levels of consciousness, that's for sure. Obviously, some people are at a higher level than others. You know, Buddha attained, it is said, the highest level of consciousness. But he didn't realize the highest level of self in that sense of some independent, solid kind of entity, inherent entity. This is tricky stuff, and it requires a lot of reading and reflecting and meditating on it. And it's what Buddha wants us to do ultimately. Understand the nature of this so-called self. Because there's obviously something, there is an I. We can say, I am talking, I am about to, close this session. But what is that I referring to, you see? That's the big question. And if we cling to some kind of independent sense of entity, real me, who's, who owns this body and mind, who has a body, who has a mind, then we're in trouble, according to Lord Buddha. He says that's a hallucination that we're believing in. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Yeah. So think about that. I hope I've made you thoroughly confused so you can enjoy your week off wondering what the hell I'm talking about. You can start reading some things. Don't just read. I wouldn't suggest, I'm not being sectarian, but I wouldn't keep on reading books from the Hindu tradition about self-realization. Since you're a Tushita, you should start reading more Buddhist books about what the self is. You can start with Tibetan Children's book, the very good beginning books that Tibetan Children has written. Open Mind, what is it called? One of those basic books. Open Heart, Clear Mind. Anyway, you'll find them. She's written some excellent basic books for beginners in Buddhism, and she talks very clearly and nicely about the I, the self, what Buddhists understand by who we are. That's very important. Was that your question? I can't even remember what your question was. I'm sorry. Beginning to fade. क्या था सवाल? सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन के बारे में क्या पूछना था?
यही कि सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन का अर्थ क्या हुआ, क्योंकि
हाँ, तो यही है. अर्थ तो यही होगा depending on what you mean by the self. And if you mean inherently, intrinsically in existing self, then there is nothing to be realized because that self is a hallucination. So we have to get rid of that understanding of self and focus on the reality. And that's not easy. तो आप पढ़िए जो मैंने बताया, आप उसको पढ़ लीजिए, Tibetan Children के basic किताबें, तो फिर थोड़ा सा समझ में आएगा at least where Buddhists are coming from. You won't give the whole answer, obviously. That requires a lot of study and meditation, but you'll begin to understand what Buddhists are meaning by self. Yeah. Shukriya, Vishadji. I gotta leave too soon. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you very much for helping. Yeah. Good night.
Thank you, Kabirji. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Divya. We'll dedicate now. I think good session. Enough time. So dedicate that things become clearer for all of us and that we are able to be well and happy and beneficial for others, and that all our teachers have long and healthy lives, and that we are never separated from authentic dharma and authentic teachers in this and future lives. And all the great teachers have long and healthy lives. And all their dharma wishes are fulfilled. And may kindness and compassion grow more and more in our minds, and of course also wisdom, realizing ultimate truth, selflessness. Okay, thank you so much. There may not be a session on Sunday. I'll be traveling on Sunday back to Delhi during the day, so I don't think I'll be able to conduct a session from the car. So yeah, just take it easy on Sunday. Wash your car, cut the grass, read about emptiness, all these things you can do. And relax. That's very important, to relax and not be uptight. Yeah.
Thank you, Kabir ji.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.